This podcast is brought to you by the Arete Media YouTube channel.
Welcome to the AI Analysis Podcast. Today we're doing a deep dive into Nancy Drew, along with our friend from the Literature Lingerie podcast. And this particular deep dive is inspired by a recent watch of Chapter 7, aptly titled The Wrecked Car, from their fantastic YouTube channel. They really had some thought-provoking insights that we just had to unpack. Last time we checked in with Nancy, she had been hitting what felt like a frustrating brick wall in her investigation, but true to her indomitable spirit, she'd managed to transform that seemingly impenetrable obstacle into 4 promising paths forward. It was a quintessential Nancy move, really, showing her incredible resourcefulness. And now get to truly unpack what unfolded in this next crucial chapter, The Wrecked Car, a title that immediately promises, a dramatic turn of events.
That's right. And for you listening, our mission in this deep dive is to go far beyond just recapping the plot points. We want to extract the most important nuggets of knowledge and insight to understand not just what happened in this chapter, but what it means for Nancy as a character. We'll explore how these seemingly small moments connect to the overarching narrative, and perhaps most fascinatingly, some of the themes and discussions, particularly the brilliant commentary provided by the host of Literature Lingerie, resonate with our world today. We'll be pulling out those aha moments and discussing their broader implications, inviting you to think critically about storytelling, detective work, and even the economics of communication from a bygone era.
Okay, let's unpack this Chapter 7. Kicks off precisely where we want it to, right? With Nancy hot on the trail of Nancy Smith Drew. She's not one to let grass grow under her feet, immediately leaning on her trusty friend Ned Nickerson for help. It's that familiar, collaborative Nancy Drew energy right from the very first page of the chapter, reminding us that even a super sleuth benefits from a strong network. Ned's immediate task is deceptively simple, but crucial. Find out if the coach at Emerson College, a Miss Drew, mentioned as a potential lead, actually has Nancy as her first name. In a world without, instant digital databases, this kind of direct person-to-person inquiry was the primary method of identification, making Ned's role vital.
What's truly fascinating here is how quickly Ned follows up, and what that speed signifies about the efficiency and dedication within Nancy's circle. He calls back within an hour, reporting Miss Drew was suddenly called away and won't return until just before the Friday show. This brief update, though it represents a temporary delay for Nancy, actually highlights the methodical, almost deliberate pace of investigation in her era. There's no instant messaging, no quick online search for biographical data. Every piece of information, even a negative one, requires a direct interaction, a phone call, a visit, and then a report back. This sets a very different rhythm for detective work, one that emphasizes patience, persistence, and effective communication, even when Nancy is clearly eager for immediate answers. It really grounds the story in its historical period.
Right. And then we get this delightful, surprising, temporary coach revelation. Ned, in a moment that truly grounds the story, changes the subject with a laugh, revealing that the temporary coach stepping in for Miss Drew is Bert Edlin, who happens to be George Fane's date. He's described as a blonde, husky football player who is full of fun. It's such a delightful, unexpected detail that truly adds a splash of color to Nancy's world.
This is a great example of how the author injects lighthearted humor and everyday life into Nancy's otherwise intense, focused search. It momentarily shifts the tone, reminding us that Nancy's world isn't just about the mystery. There are normal, everyday interactions, friendships, and even humorous dating dynamics happening around her. It grounds the story, making it feel more real and relatable. Furthermore, it gives us a small but telling glimpse into the dynamic between Nancy and Ned. Even in the midst of a serious investigation, they share a laugh and a playful moment, which deepens their connection as characters and underscores the ease and warmth of their friendship. These subtle character moments are key.
Yeah, absolutely key to why people love these books. After that brief and rather charming interlude, Nancy's thoughts, as they always do, snap right back to the core of the case. She's focused on her visit to the Sykes home and that crucial piece of information about Nancy Smith Drew potentially being from England and having been a governess for a family called the Wilsons. The big missing piece, the real needle in the haystack, is finding those elusive Wilsons.
Exactly. And this raises a fundamental question about Nancy's investigative process.
Yeah.
How does she methodically narrow down possibilities when she has so little to go on? Her approach is classic Nancy Drew. When puzzled, she turns to her trusted circle. She goes to Hannah Gruen, her incredibly understanding and insightful housekeeper. It's a testament to the deep trust and collaborative spirit that defines the Drew household, where even informal channels are leveraged for breakthroughs. Hannah isn't just a housekeeper. She's like a well of practical knowledge and intuition.
Yeah, she really is. Hannah, with her practical wisdom, offers her hunches first. Perhaps the Cape Cod or Boston area, given their popularity for summer homes. Then she suggests Springfield, Massachusetts. But Nancy, with her characteristic drive for precision, pushes for more. She's not satisfied with just generalities. She needs concrete leads,
Mm-hmm. And this interaction truly highlights a classic detective move, the process of eliminating possibilities and intensive brainstorming. After about 10 minutes of discussion, a moment captured so well in the Literature and Lingerie commentary, Nancy articulates an idea that Hannah finds very, very plausible. Her logical chain of deduction is impressive. If Nancy's Miss Drew was in New York studying for the stage, and if she succeeded in finding a place in the theatrical world even as a college coach, then there's a strong possibility that the Wilsons, the affluent family for whom she worked as a governess, also live in New York City. It's a sophisticated inference based on social and professional connections, showing Nancy's ability to connect seemingly disparate pieces of information. This isn't just a guess, it's a calculated hypothesis.
Totally. And Hannah, being the unsung hero that she often is, provides the perfect practical contribution to back up Nancy's deduction. She reminds Nancy of a New York City phone book conveniently located in her father's study. In the 1930s, that wasn't just a book. It was a true treasure trove of information, the closest thing they had to a searchable database.
Oh, absolutely.
Here's where it gets truly fascinating for us as modern listeners, and where the Literature and Lingerie video's commentary was particularly insightful, making us really think about how much our world has transformed. Nancy, armed with this crucial tip, rushes off to tackle the formidable New York City phone book. Can you just picture it? Hundreds, possibly thousands, of Wilsons listed. A less determined person would be completely overwhelmed, perhaps even throw in the towel right then and there. But not Nancy. She grabs a pencil from her father's desk, settles in, and just starts systematically checking likely addresses.
This sequence, highlighted vividly by the LNL host, absolutely solidifies Nancy's characterization as incredibly, almost superhumanly, determined.
Right.
She's not just randomly flipping pages, she's applying logical deduction even to this tedious task. Her thought process, as the book describes, is that if the Wilsons could afford a governess, they were well-to-do, meaning they would likely live in nice areas of the city. This allows her to smartly eliminate all the business and professional addresses from her list, focusing her efforts. It's a prime example of her resourcefulness, even with an old-school tool like a massive physical phone book. This isn't just grit, it's strategic persistence.
Definitely. And then the tremendous phone bill. After making call after call for half an hour with no success, Nancy heaves a sigh. We even see a rare moment of doubt as she wonders if she should go on, acknowledging that the Wilsons could have died or simply moved away without a trace. But her resolve, that unshakable core of Nancy Drew, ultimately wins out, leading her to declare, "I mustn't give up."
This is a truly pivotal moment that allows us to connect to the broader historical context, a point the Literature and Lingerie video commentary focused on with great emphasis. The host explicitly discussed the almost unimaginable cost of long-distance calls in the past compared to our ubiquitous, often free communication today. For you listening, try to imagine this. In Nancy's time, making call after call for half an hour, especially long distance to a major city like New York, was a significant financial undertaking. It wasn't just a few cents, it could amount to a substantial sum. This truly underscores her unwavering commitment to the case. Her willingness to incur such substantial costs for the sake of the investigation speaks volumes about her dedication and, as the video's host astutely pointed out, the implicit support system she has in her father, who, as a prominent lawyer, could absorb such a very high phone bill. It's a vivid example of Nancy's resourcefulness, her dedication, and the unique circumstances that enable her relentless pursuit of justice. It puts her determination into concrete economic terms.
Absolutely. And the phone books themselves. The video's host made a really insightful observation, noting that this book, written way back in 1932, just the concept of it makes them feel old because physical phone books don't even exist anymore for most of us. They're a true relic of a bygone era. So when Nancy is doing all of this, what does this seemingly mundane detail of using a phone book reveal about her character and perhaps about the nature of detective work itself?
It absolutely solidifies her unwavering grit and determination in a way that modern detective work with its instant gratification often can't convey. The video's host explicitly articulated this. She is absolutely determined. She does not give up. She does not let obstacles and boundaries get in her way. If she encounters a stumbling block, she will just march right on over that stumbling block. This entire sequence, from the sheer volume of names to the high cost of calls to the physical act of sifting through pages, serves as a profound test of her resolve, and she passes it with flying colors. It showcases a level of patience and persistence that is quite remarkable.
It really is.
Moreover, as the video host aptly put it, this type of meticulous, patient investigation, reaching out to contacts, sifting through public records one by one, is almost like the original version of internet sleuthing. Today, we have online communities, Reddit forums, message boards, and sophisticated databases where people comb over police reports and cold cases. Nancy, with her phone book and direct calls, is essentially the 1930s pioneer of that same dedication to solving mysteries.
That's a great point.
She embodies the spirit of civilian detective work, collaborating with officials like Chief McInnes and sharing information in a way that, frankly, our modern privacy laws might make a little more complicated. Imagine just randomly giving out your phone number and address to a stranger today.
Right. Totally different world.
It highlights a fundamental shift, not just in technology, but in societal norms around information sharing and privacy. It emphasizes that while the tools change, the core attributes of a successful investigator, persistence, logical deduction, and resourcefulness, remain timeless.
So true. After all that incredible persistence, that half hour of dialing and waiting, Nancy finally gets a breakthrough. She dials another number and a woman answers. You can practically feel the tension, the held breath, even for a seasoned detective like Nancy. This is the moment of truth. Nancy wastes no time diving right in with her direct question. Did you ever employ a governess named Nancy Smith Drew? The suspense builds as she holds her breath, waiting for the answer that could unlock the entire mystery.
What's truly fascinating here is the immediate, almost unbelievable coincidence that follows. The woman on the other end asks who's calling, and Nancy, with perfect narrative flair, replies, "Believe it or not, my name is also Nancy Drew." This is a classic narrative device, a specific literary tool or technique authors use to shape the story or achieve a particular effect. Here, this immediate, almost unbelievable coincidence adds a layer of intrigue, a personal connection to the encounter, almost as if fate itself is playing a hand in bringing the two Nancy Drews closer together.
It really does feel that way.
It certainly makes for a more engaging read than just a straightforward name inquiry, adding a touch of destiny to the detective's journey.
And then the confirmation arrives. Mrs. Wilson does indeed confirm that a Miss Nancy Smith Drew worked for them a few years ago. She's described as a very lovely person and an excellent actress. It's a small detail, but it paints an immediate positive picture of the person Nancy is so desperately searching for, giving her a more concrete identity beyond just a name.
But then we hit a familiar narrative hurdle, the crucial information, or rather the lack of it, that prevents an immediate resolution. Mrs. Wilson, unfortunately, doesn't know where she is now. She last received a postcard or a Christmas message almost a year ago stating she was moving but not providing a new address. This is a brilliant narrative move because it adds another layer to the mystery. It prevents an immediate, easy resolution, ensuring Nancy's journey continues and the suspense builds. It also subtly emphasizes the limited communication methods of the time. A postcard once a year is hardly a reliable forwarding address, and it reminds us how challenging it was to stay connected across distances before modern communication.
Good point. Never one to waste time or hold back crucial information, Nancy immediately reveals the inheritance. She tells Mrs. Wilson about the large inheritance waiting for her in England. And Mrs. Wilson's reaction, how exciting, truly highlights the immense significance of this news, not just for Nancy Smith Drew, but for the moral satisfaction of justice being done and a rightful heir being found.
This interaction sets up a remarkably clever pathway for future plot development. The plan is ingeniously simple, yet highly effective. Mrs. Wilson is going to tell Nancy Smith Drew to contact Nancy Drew at Christmas time. So Nancy now has two genuinely promising leads, potentially the coach at Emerson College, or this more passive but reliable contact via Mrs. Wilson by Christmas. This is a hallmark trait of a truly effective detective, creating multiple independent pathways to success, ensuring that if one avenue closes or proves difficult, another remains open and viable.
Exactly. She's covering her bases.
It's exactly as Hannah Gruen confirms, remarking with her characteristic wisdom, if you don't find hidden gold under one stone, you turn up another. It's a beautiful metaphor for Nancy's tenacious, multi-pronged approach to detective work, demonstrating her strategic foresight.
Love that quote. After such an incredibly productive morning of phone calls and breakthroughs, Nancy and Hannah take a practical, well-deserved break for lunch. It's a moment of normalcy amidst the intense sleuthing, a reminder that even super sleuths need to eat and recharge. Then they head to Nancy's bedroom to check on a dance dress. It's these little domestic moments that help ground the story and remind us that Nancy is still a young woman with a normal life and social engagements, even as she's immersed in danger and high-stakes mysteries. It gives her character a relatable dimension.
Definitely. But of course, the calm doesn't last long in Nancy Drew's world. The phone rings again, and it's none other than Chief McGinnis. He has big news that directly ties into Nancy's prior dangerous encounter and a key lead. They found the beat-up car with the license number TJ12796.
Big news indeed.
This update directly ties back to Nancy's previous observations and the very real dangers she faced during her investigation. The chief reports that the car was found abandoned and a complete wreck on that very same road where Nancy saw the man drive across the bridge just beyond a sharp curve. The assumption, a perfectly logical one given the circumstances, is that he was going too fast and didn't make it around the turn. However, the intriguing detail here, as noted by the chief, is the lack of a body or immediate hospital report suggesting severe injury.
Oh, interesting.
This adds a crucial layer of mystery to his disappearance. It certainly doesn't wrap up that part of the case neatly, leaving open the question of his fate and whereabouts. It prevents a simple conclusion and hints at more to come.
The lingering question, of course, the one hanging in the air, is whether this wrecked car actually belonged to Edgar Nixon, the man Nancy suspects. Chief McGinnis reports that it was registered under another name with a phony address.
This is where the plot takes a truly significant turn, and the Literature and Lingerie commentary highlighted this as an absolutely crucial tidbit about Edgar Nixon. The revelation that he uses aliases isn't just a throwaway line, it's a significant development that immediately complicates the entire investigation. If we connect this to the bigger picture, it means he's not just a petty criminal. He's cunning, deceptive, and perhaps has a history of evading capture by obscuring his true identity. This adds considerable depth and menace to his character as a potential antagonist.
Definitely makes him seem more dangerous.
For you, the listener, it encourages critical thinking about identity, deception, and how incredibly difficult it can be to track someone who deliberately constructs layers of false information. This one piece of information blows open the scope of the investigation, elevating the stakes and making the search for Nixon far more complex. It's a classic criminal tactic, but revealing it now paints him as a more sophisticated adversary.
Chief McGinnis is still diligently looking for a man in a camel's hair coat and hat, based on Nancy's detailed description from her earlier encounter. But Nancy, ever the astute observer, makes a truly brilliant deduction right on the spot, connecting seemingly unrelated pieces of evidence. Her thought process is so incredibly sharp and logical. If this man has a beat-up car indicating he's not exactly rolling in money and is demanding money from his brother Ira, clearly signaling financial desperation, then he's likely not very well off at all. She then questions, quite shrewdly, how he could possibly afford 2 expensive men's winter overcoats, one of which was the camel's hair coat. It's a perfectly logical conclusion, drawing a comprehensive picture of the suspect's circumstances based on limited yet vital evidence.
What's truly fascinating here is precisely how Nancy connects these seemingly disparate clues. The car's poor condition, the financial demand on his brother, and the implied expense of a quality overcoat. She weaves them together into a coherent narrative, painting a much more complete and very likely accurate picture of the suspect's true financial situation and thus his identity and motives. Chief McGinnis's reaction is fantastic. He immediately recognizes her genius. He laughs and compliments her, saying, "I admire the way your mind works, Nancy. What you just said is very true."
Yeah, that's a great moment.
This moment really highlights Nancy and the chief as a formidable team, collaborating seamlessly to solve the mystery. They are both on the same team, bringing different perspectives and insights to help each other out, which is a powerful dynamic in any detective story. It shows the chief truly respects Nancy's intelligence, which is a key element of their ongoing productive partnership, and a rare depiction of an adult authority figure acknowledging a young woman's superior intellect in that era.
Absolutely. Okay, let's pause right there for a quick break.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the video. This one's a real quick impromptu one. This is just a little tip. For those of you that know me personally, you know I have a background in kitchens, cabinetry, and countertops. And I noticed a little something in my showroom here today that is a perfect opportunity to give one of the biggest tips I give all my customers, and now I'm going to give it to you too. If you have a granite countertop, this is going to save you a lot of anxiety. So I was walking by one of our display tops, and this is actually kind of like on a half wall, so it's not like a full countertop, but it's granite, so this still applies. I noticed somebody left a drink here, and I picked it up and it left a ring. Perfect opportunity. A lot of people will freak out. Now, I want to clarify something. This countertop has not been sealed. When it was installed, they asked us if we wanted it to. Since it's not a countertop, we said no. And this is granite, not quartz, but it still applies. Quartz stains are a lot easier to get out because of how they're composed, but not impossible. I've actually gotten Sharpie out with this trick before on a quartz countertop, so I'm going to show you the best way to eliminate a stain on a countertop.
Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We're continuing our exploration of Nancy Dree's latest adventure, Chapter 7 of Nancy's Mysterious Letter, and especially the insightful commentary from the Literature and Lingerie podcast we watched. So after that illuminating call with Chief McGinnis, Nancy is returning to her room, presumably to get ready for that dance dress fitting. The doorbell rings. And then this is where the chapter takes a truly unexpected turn, one that sparked quite a reaction and a significant point of discussion for the host of the Literature and Lingerie video. The chapter ends with Nancy stepping on her long gown and her stocking feet, hearing a loud rip, gasping, losing her balance, and pitching forward just ends.
Yeah, abruptly.
The video's host expresses significant, almost palpable annoyance with this ending, noting that it's a very short chapter, only 6 pages, that concludes on yet another cliffhanger. You can really hear the frustration in their voice as they react to what feels like a narrative contrivance.
This incident brings us squarely into a fascinating debate about what's known as the reader contract in storytelling. In a classic mystery series like Nancy Drew, there's an implicit understanding between author and audience. We expect logical progression, characters facing genuine challenges, and suspense that feels earned. When the L&L host critiques this ending as lazy writing, they're essentially arguing that it violates that contract. It's not just a random event, it's an inorganic scene, a plot device that serves no discernible purpose other than to artificially force engagement. A tactic sometimes seen in early serialized fiction, but one that can feel manipulative rather than genuinely suspenseful.
Right, like it doesn't feel earned.
Exactly. It's a false climax rather than a natural point of tension.
The host of the video takes their critique even further, comparing this narrative choice to clickbait and manipulation. They articulated that they felt genuinely pulled out of the story precisely because they knew, deep down, there's no point to this specific scene. It feels inorganic, less like a natural narrative progression and more like a cheap trick, a device simply designed to make you turn the page without truly advancing the plot or character development.
This truly encourages critical thinking about narrative techniques and their profound impact on reader engagement and trust. The commentary draws a compelling parallel to writers who sometimes force characters to act out of character just to hit specific plot points, disrupting the internal logic of the story. Here, it's not about character, but about creating an entirely inorganic scene, this random tripping incident, solely for the sake of a forced cliffhanger. The advice from the video's host is quite strong and unequivocal. Avoid this like you would avoid the plague.
Wow, strong words.
It's a clear warning against such artificial devices in storytelling, arguing that they undermine the reader's immersion and faith in the narrative. They're essentially saying, don't cheat your audience.
The Literature and Lingerie host then offers a very simple, yet, in their opinion, a far more effective alternative. Just ending the chapter with the front doorbell rang. Simple as that. So what does this all mean for storytelling and the fundamental relationship between a writer and their audience? What's the deeper principle here?
This highlights a core principle of good writing, the importance of trusting your audience. The commentary powerfully argues that at this point in the story, the reader is already deeply invested. Nancy is actively finding leads. The mystery of Nancy Smith Drew is unfolding. Edgar Nixon's aliases have just been revealed, raising the stakes considerably. As the video's host put it so well, expressing the reader's sentiment, I'm invested in this story now. I want to solve this mystery. I'm excited to find her. The reader doesn't need to be manipulated with the dress rip. They want to keep reading because the story itself is compelling.
Yeah, the story's got momentum already.
Exactly. Their desire to know what happens next is already earned.
So it begs the question, why would a writer, especially one crafting a beloved series like Nancy Drew, resort to such gimmicks if the reader is already hooked and genuinely eager to turn the page? What does that say about the author's approach?
It suggests a fundamental lack of trust in the reader's organic excitement and investment in the story. When a writer is genuinely excited about their story, when they are deeply invested in their characters and plot, that authentic enthusiasm naturally translates onto the page. It makes the reader feel that same level of excitement and want to continue without needing artificial manipulation or contrived cliffhangers.
Makes sense.
The suggested alternative ending, simply the front doorbell rang, would still create immense anticipation. The listener is already invested in knowing who is at the door, whether it's Ned or a new character or a threat, and how it will impact the progression of Nancy's vital investigation. They don't need a dress rip to wonder what happens next. It's a powerful lesson in writing. Let the inherent momentum of your story, the genuine intrigue you've built, carry the reader forward, rather than resorting to superficial tricks. Trust that a well-crafted narrative is engaging enough on its own merits.
That's a really good way to put it. So what really stands out to you from this deep dive into Nancy Drew Chapter 7 and the fascinating commentary surrounding it? For me, it's the sheer contrast between Nancy's incredible systematic deduction and that jarring, seemingly out-of-place ending. It's like two different approaches to storytelling converging.
Absolutely. This deep dive truly makes us think about the subtle layers of storytelling, even in what's often considered classic children's literature. It's not just about the mystery Nancy solves, but how she solves it. Her unwavering determination, her cleverness in connecting disparate clues, and the detailed context of the world she inhabits, from the economics of long-distance calls to the physicality of using old phone books. It also brings into sharp focus the choices writers make, whether they're conscious or not, and their profound impact on the reader's experience and their engagement with the narrative. This video commentary pushed us to think critically about every narrative decision, even those in seemingly simple stories.
Yeah, definitely. Nancy's grit, the historical nuances of communication and investigation, and then that ongoing debate about narrative choices, especially those sudden cliffhangers. There's so much to chew on here. It's a classic for a reason, but that doesn't mean it's beyond critical analysis or discussion. In fact, its enduring appeal makes the critique even more valuable.
Indeed. Consider this provocative thought for you listening. In a world where we're constantly seeking information and entertainment, often bombarded by content, how much do we, as consumers, allow ourselves to be manipulated by narrative tricks, by clickbaity cliffhangers that feel inorganic, versus truly investing in a well-crafted story that earns our engagement and trust through genuine suspense and character development? And conversely, as creators, how much do we trust our audience to stay engaged without constant forced twists and turns? It's a conversation worth having, not just about Nancy Drew, but about the future of storytelling itself.
That's a great question to ponder. We'd love to hear your thoughts on this, whether you agree with the Literature and Lingerie's lazy writing critique, or perhaps you see those cliffhangers as an essential, beloved, and even nostalgic part of the classic Nancy Drew experience. Let us know what you think. That's all the time we have for this deep dive. Thank you for joining us, and we look forward to the next one.
You make me wanna.
Hello. Welcome to Wholesome Monday.
Poetry Thursday.
Wholesome Monday. Poetry Thursday. Welcome to Literature. Sorry, wow. Say that 3 times 5. 3 times 5. 3 times fast. Fuck. My YouTube channel to accompany my Patreon. That sounds like I made my Patreon and then made my YouTube channel. Nix that. Okay, I'm gonna start over. Welcome to Literature and Lingerie, where we will mostly on YouTube be getting up to a lot of literature. Hit that subscribe button, and I think they say you should hit the bell, right? So that you're notified. No. I probably should have vetted that. I mean, it was 1888, so what do I expect? Edgar, what the hell? God, this strap.